Okay guys, welcome to another episode. Today we are not working on this thing because I don't have parts yet. But what we are going to be doing today is working on Luca's car. So you guys, if you guys did not see the phase 1 of the suspension mods that we have for Luca's car, definitely go check that out because those are the first parts that we installed suspension-wise on Luca's 2013 FRS. So we have some more mods coming in today, and they're pretty damn good, I'm not going to lie. We have, I want to say like $3 grand plus worth of parts, so it's gonna be fun. Luca, let's start.
Yeah, let's get to it. 46.
That's how much you spent on all this stuff?
No, Mom.
No, it was like $300.
Yeah, it was like $300. I got a really good deal.
Yeah. You got great connections.
Yep.
Okay, so show me what you got.
All right.
Where do you want to start?
With the pride and joy.
Okay, let's go.
All right. So we've got a set of Fortunato Fortune 500. V7 Coil Overs. So this is their 7th, I guess, edition of them.
So if you guys can see these markings, let me just quickly tell you how to diagnose what this is. So this is a Fortunato spring. It's a 178 millimeter length spring, and this is a 10K spring. So it means it requires 10 kilograms of pressure to compress this 1 millimeter. So we have, this is the front or rear? That's rear.
That's rear.
So we have 10Ks for the rear, and we have 9K springs for the fronts. So you guys can see that they're slightly different design, front and rear. So we're going to be attaching this to the parts that you're going to be seeing in a second. This comes included with it. It's the certificate of assembly. Shows who did it, when it was made, spring rate, serial number, valving, all that stuff, along with extra options on the bottom. That's the most expensive part of this. Luca, what would you say this costs? Canadian.
Canadian, depends where you get it, but it's going to be around $2 grand.
These are a lot of car parts. These boxes aren't that big, but man, are they expensive. Some of them.
This is a set of Veris Engineering rear lower control arms that I painted this blue color. Now these are crazy lightweight. They're made of billet 7000 series aluminum, which is very light, very strong, and these are the lightest and strongest rear lower control arms on the market. So, yeah.
Those look nice.
I just painted them this blue. I really like it. It's a nice subtle color, but also adds a little bit of flavor to the rear. After that, I have ISC coil over covers. So these are going to be basically like socks for the coil overs, help protect them from you know, dust, dirt, rock, sand, stuff like that.
Yep.
And help them to prevent them from rusting prematurely. After that, I have an SPL Pro Series rear trailing arm.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah. I kind of don't even want to put it in, just like mount it on my desk.
So this here is all, so this is lasered, this is billet aluminum.
Yeah, this is billet 6062 aluminum, titanium hardware, and then a spherical bushing, or joint at the end. These are some of the lightest for my car for the rear trailing arms, which, if you get the trend from all this, I've tried to go as light and as strong as possible for everything. Because I plan on tracking the car. I plan on, you know, abusing it and having fun with it. I want the suspension to be as awesome as it can be.
All right, so next up on the list
is a set of Veris Engineering rear toe arms. So these are black with what's called 2 spherical bushings at either end. It's made of billet 7000 series aluminum. So again, just like the rear lower control arms, they're very, very light. They're strong.
Now, I legit could not get over how light these things are when you handed them to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like insane.
Yeah.
So that's going to make a big difference whenever you're going over a bump, whenever you're going off of, let's say, a little drop or whatever, a divot in the road. It all comes into play. If you can remove as much weight from the suspension of the car, so wheels, brakes, you know, anything that's moving, any unsprung weight, you're going to be making your ride so much better.
And to add to these, I also opted to go with the upgrade kit for it. So it's
so what's that?
So 2 parts to it. One is an eccentric lockout, so it basically blocks out the stock eccentric bolts on the car.
Yep.
Because if you ever go to the track, those bolts can actually move under high G's and high forces.
So that's these right here.
Yeah, those little blocks. And then apart from that, there's these little collars that can actually change your suspension geometry. So when you lower your car, if you go on coils or bags or whatever it is, or even on the track and you hit a bump, our FRS and BRZs, they're very known for having like very drastic toe adjustments under compression. So that means on every single bump and I guess compression of your strut, your toe changes a lot. So this helps to keep it back to the OEM spec to help reduce that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. One of the last things are these sway bar stays. I got them as a gift from some weird dude.
He has a YouTube channel or something like that. Yeah, whatever.
I don't know.
But why do you have those? So what are those? Those are sway bar stays?
Yeah, so these can connect the rear sway bar mounts to the subframe. So to add a little bit more rigidity to them, make sure nothing flexes or anything like that.
But wouldn't it make sense to put those with aftermarket sway bars?
You know, it would. Some might say that.
But good thing we don't have those.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Oh!
We do!
Oh, hello. Hello.
So under the big box here, we have upgraded Hotchkiss sway bars front and rear.
Yeah, so these are the largest sway bars you can get for the FRS. I think at the front's a 25 mil, or a 1 inch, and then the rear I think is a 23, 22 or 23.
Okay, sweet.
But yeah, so.
Yeah, that's gonna make a big difference.
Yep.
Okay, let's go. So what are we doing first then for the install?
First do front end, so I wanna do, disconnect the end link from the stock strut, disconnect the 4 bolts on each side that I'll show you for the sway bars, remove the sway bars, and then remove the OEM struts, put in the coils, put in the new sway bars with the new end links, and that should be it. I'm gonna do a little bit of cleaning up in there just because, you know, wheels off, it's beginning of summer, so gotta make the car look good, but that should be it.
So as Luca gets going with the install, you know, I've done this multiple times on countless cars on the channel. If you guys want to find out how to install most of these components, they're not necessarily going to be on an FRS. We'll give you a quick basis or rundown in this video, but if you want to see like a full in-depth video, let's say on how to install coilovers or adjust them, you guys can find more information in the description box. I'll be putting other links to previous videos that I've recorded. But as for Luca's car, install should be pretty straightforward. This is a car that's got 26,000?
Yeah, it just cost over
26,000 kilometers on the car, so it's basically new. So we shouldn't be expecting any rust or problems along the way, but we'll keep you updated. Okay, so how did the front disassembly go? Easy?
Yeah, it went pretty good. A little bit time consuming just because I didn't just disassemble the front end. I took off the knuckle, stuff like that, and actually repainted them, made them look good. But now we have these.
So these here are the upgraded parts for the front end of the vehicle that are going in today. So you can see that we have front sway bars along with new front struts and end links. So let's begin with these here. So on the right, these are Fortunato upgraded coilovers with adjustable end links that came included with the kit. On the left here, we have the stock suspension with Manzo lowering springs and stock end links. Now, the setups right here, they will be a direct replacement, a direct bolt-on, but there's gonna be a massive difference into how the car is gonna handle and behave after it's all installed. So the left setup here weighs 32.4 pounds. The right setup here weighs 22.4 pounds. So we're seeing a 10-pound weight difference after this upgrade, even though all of these components, other than what you see in green, are made out of steel. I gotta say, this is gonna be quite an upgrade. The same kind of thing goes for the rear. So for the rear setup right here, we have this little bar that basically holds the sway bar in place into the vehicle, but we have an upgraded Hotchkiss 1 inch or 25 millimeter sway bar, along with greasable Zerk fittings. Inside of them is also polyurethane mount, so that's gonna be a big difference as to how the car is gonna handle over the stock 18 millimeter setup and rubber bushings that are found on the inside. Now, the cool thing is that even though Hotchkiss went with a larger bar, which means this is gonna be stiffer around turns, it weighs the same, which is pretty crazy to think. So with all of this in, the car should be completely transformed. So which side is which on this front bar?
So this is the driver's side.
Okay.
That's the passenger side. This is the front of the vehicle. This is the rear. And it's just gonna be bolts going in these 2 holes and 2 back here.
Do you have the torque specs?
Tight.
Like,
Tight.
tight, good and tight.
Yep.
You can see right here, there's 2 different settings for where you're gonna put the end links. So if you insert the end link into this position here, which is closest to the pivot point, this is going to be the stiffer of the 2 settings. If you put it out here, this is going to be the softer of the 2. So this bar, the front has 2 spots for it. The rear will have 4. So you have a lot of adjustability with these kind of upgraded sway bars. So you guys can see underneath here, the nicely fresh aluminum colored piece. This is now bolted up and it's holding the sway bar in place. So there's 2 bolts on the back side, 1 there and 1 there, and then 2 more at the front. So those 2 ones at the front, along with the front bolt back here, are all the same size. The one in the back is a longer bolt, but as long as you put those in and torque them up to spec, you're not gonna have any issues with this. So you're gonna repeat this for both sides. Next up, moving on to the coilovers, we're installing a little bit of thread lubricant or anti-seize on the threads of the coilover, along with the threads of the adjustable end link. So Luca's doing that right now. Put a little bit of anti-seize on there, and you can see that he's just working it up and down so that the threads are properly lubricated and nothing's gonna get seized once we get this car driving. So should we wanna take this apart, let's say a couple years down the road, they're not gonna be a problem for us. So with the driver's side pretty much all together, this is the amount of sag that you're gonna have at the initial setting when you get the coilover straight out of the box. So we haven't adjusted them at all. Now on top, Luca's set the coilovers to have max camber in so that he's gonna get the most amount of turn-in grip as possible. So you know how most cars nowadays, like the stance stuff, how it's all cambered in? Well, that isn't yeah, it was right. That isn't functional. But if you get a rear wheel drive setup to camber in on the front, that actually is functional. What's gonna happen is that wheel, that instead of, here, there's a camera. So instead of the wheel being perfectly straight up and down, when you have a little bit of camber in, so the wheels in the front are just slightly pushed in, you're gonna have more turn-in grip, because when you turn the steering wheel, because of the caster, it's gonna have that wheel that's like this, and when you turn, it's gonna actually roll straight. So you'll see what I'm talking about once we get this thing going, but that's pretty much how we're gonna set it up now. We're eyeballing it, kind of getting it on point, and then we're gonna fine tune it and dial it in at the alignment shop. But next up comes the rear setup. So we have the rear brake caliper and the rotor removed. We're gonna be taking out the old strut, the factory strut. We're gonna be removing this piece down here, that arm in the back, this smaller one here up front, along with the other one back there. So all of these are standard OEM pieces that have eccentric bolts attached to them so that you can make an alignment from there. Now, the biggest problem with this is that not only are they steel, but you can't exactly get a good adjustment out of them. You can only move them a couple degrees, whereas when you lower the car, you might need to adjust it more than that. So we're gonna be taking out one of these arms at a time, and then we're gonna be replacing them with the nicer, newer, lighter, adjustable ones.
So we're gonna start by removing the rear lower control arm. And to do so, you need to remove the bolt that attaches it to the rear knuckle, the bolt that attaches it to the rear strut, as well as the end link bolt. Now, once those are all out of the rear lower control arm, we're able to take out each one of the pieces, including the end link, the strut, and the knuckle, and change out the rear lower control arm. Now, because we are also changing out the rear sway bar, we're not gonna go ahead and put back in that factory end link. We have an upgraded spherical end link with the new Hotchkiss rear sway bar. After we're done removing the rear lower control arm, we can go ahead and disassemble the two 14mm bolts in the trunk compartment that hold the rear strut to the frame. Now that it's time to remove the rear sway bar, there's two bolts on either side that you have to unscrew. They're both 14mm, and try and do one side at a time, and depending on your exhaust setup, you might be able to remove the sway bar without having to disconnect your axle back portion of your exhaust. If you have a large rear muffler or the OEM muffler, you will have to remove your axle back portion of your exhaust. In this case, where I have my MXP, I was able to just slide it out, but that's going to vary depending on case by case.
So what you guys see here are the rear components that we're gonna be installing on the car. So we're gonna be doing this in two different steps. So we're gonna be focusing on these components first, and then moving to these secondary ones. So to begin, you can see that we have removed the stock strut assemblies, we have the stock rear lower control arms, and the stock sway bar, bushings, and end links. So these all came out relatively easily. It was just a matter of removing bolts and taking stuff out. You didn't need any special tools to take these out. So on the left, you can see we have the stock parts, and on the right, we have the aftermarket parts. Now, let's start comparing them. So the stock struts, these are on lowering springs. These are the stock OEM parts that came on the car when it was made. So these, we weighed them and they came into 17.2 pounds. Now, when we compared them to the aftermarket Fortunato coilovers, they came in at the exact same weight, 17.2 pounds. Now, the awesome thing about these is that these are adjustable. So we can change the ride height, the dampening, the preload, literally everything. On the stock setup, we couldn't. So this is going to be a huge upgrade feeling wise while not sacrificing any weight. So we're not gaining anything, but we're not losing anything. Now, if we move to the other components right here, these are the sway bar stays. These two little gray pieces are additional chassis bracing for the vehicle. So when we put our upgraded sway bar in, we're gonna get an extra boost, let's say. We're gonna get more feel out of it because of these. So there's gonna be less flex in the chassis. These components here came in at 2.2 pounds. Not much, but definitely helpful when you guys are talking about handling stuff. Following that, we measured the sway bars. So the stock sway bar, end link, and the bushings and brackets, these came in at a total of 5.2 pounds. Now, when we compare these to the upgraded Hotchkiss ones that come with spherical end links, polyurethane bushings, and greasable Zerk fittings, these came in at 8.6 pounds. So these are 3.4 pounds heavier, but we should notice a massive difference. So this bar here is 14 millimeters in diameter. The upgraded Hotchkiss one is 19. Now, again, at the end, just like the front, we have adjustable parts to it. So we can make it so that if it's all the way on the inside setting, it's super stiff. But if we put it all the way to the right, it's just gonna be a little bit stiffer than stock. So you do have a little bit of customization depending on where you put the bolt. So we're gonna start it off in probably one of the middle settings and then work from there. Now, last but not least, for the rear components, we have these stock control arms. So these here are made out of steel. They have rubber bushings to them. And you know, they're decent, they do the trick. They're probably kind of comfy, but they're not gonna be anything really performance oriented. You're not gonna have any kind of adjustability with it either. So when we lower the car with the upgraded coils, we're gonna need something like this. So these are the adjustable, spherical, various parts that are gonna be a huge difference. So you can see these have the spherical ends to them, completely adjustable, and these are made out of aluminum. So these components, even though they have a little bit of steel on the ends for like the bushing areas, these came in at 5.2 pounds versus the OEM components that are made out of steel. These came in at 7.2. So we have 2 pounds shed just from there, and we get some added features in installing these. So all in all, we're gonna start off with installing these, and then once those are in, we can remove the 2 OEM components that we have still on the car, the toe and traction arms, and then replace them with these here. A quick tip, if you guys are installing adjustable control arms on your car, if you can, try and make these arms the exact same length as the OEM components so that when you bring your car to an alignment shop, they can dial this in, you can drive it there nicely, and the alignment isn't gonna be completely out of spec. So if you can do that now, you're gonna be making it so that you're not gonna be killing your tires on your way to the alignment shop. But with all the OEM components out of the car, we can go ahead and install all the new components, and we're gonna notice a massive difference. At the rear of the car, this is what the suspension should look like after the first part. So you can see on the bottom, we have the rear adjustable control arm. We have the sway bar installed. We have the spherical end link attached at the end of it, along with our rear strut. So next up comes installing the other 2 arms that are found on the front part of the rear subframe section. So then from the front side, you can see back here, we have the rear trailing arm that Luke is trying to loosen right now, and then the toe arm is found above it. So both of these are not adjustable, and we're going to be installing the new adjustable aluminum pieces to replace these steel ones. So with the secondary components now removed from the car, we can take a look at what we had and what's going in now. So you can see we have the OEM parts right here. These here are the adjustable trailing arms. So these are the stock ones. These are the upgraded adjustable SPL ones. Now the difference between these two is that the SPL ones are not only made out of billet and steel, they have spherical end links to them, but the awesome part is that they're adjustable and they're a heck of a lot stronger. Now these two, they come in at a very similar weight at 4.4 pounds. So you're not really gonna see a difference in weight here, but you're definitely going to see adjustability and strength. Now, if we move to the toe arms, we are indeed going to see a difference in weight. So we have the OEM ones here. Now, these are not adjustable, and these are made out of steel. These here are the adjustable spherical ones with the ride height correction kit installed on these ends. And the difference between these is that the OEM ones weigh 3.4 pounds. The new ones right here come in at 2.6. So we're seeing almost a pound difference between these two. Now, as for the install, it's all pretty much straightforward. It's the reversal of the disassembly. So we're gonna go through that right now, put them all in, and then tighten everything up. So a problem that Luca and I ran into when installing the ride height correction kit on the toe arm, you can see that the handbrake cable actually comes in contact with the bottom part of the nut, so it could potentially rub on it. So we went to our local dollar store and we picked up a little bendable hose like this. It should slide right over top of the handbrake cable, and then it shouldn't, in theory, rub on anything. If you guys don't have this ride height correction kit, it's not really a big deal, but the install is gonna be easier on that end. You are not going to need this like little sheathing that we're putting on the handbrake cable because it's not gonna be getting in the way. So if you are doing this, it's like an extra 30 bucks for the ride height correction kit. So if you lower your car a decent amount, you can install one of these things and it'll make the toe on point. It's not gonna really pull it in so much when the car gets lowered. especially when you go over bumps. This right here is going to pretty much complete everything for the rear. It's coming all along great. We're going to be setting the car on the ground soon. We're going to probably fine tune the suspension, so the ride height, the preload, dampening, all that stuff, along with the alignment. So we're going to let this sit for a couple days. We're going to let the springs settle in place, and then we're going to go get all that stuff done. Stiffer. Keep in mind, this is not a bumpy road. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, so I can already tell from that smile that there's a difference. What do you think?
It's so much flatter. Oh, honestly, I think that's the biggest thing that I noticed. It is definitely stiffer, but I don't know. I get it. I'm noticing it being a lot more flat than anything. Oh, this is bumpy, so we'll see.
Wow, that's not bad.
Yeah. Keep in mind, dampening in the rear is full soft.
Oh, that didn't sound good.
Yep. Dampening is full soft in the rear, and in the front, it's standard. So I'm pretty sure it's like half.
Like it's in the middle setting?
Yeah.
Not bad, I gotta say. But at the end of the day, this is pretty much what you can expect from a set of Fortunato coils. I had, okay, was not expecting that, Luca. I had them on my 240, I have them on my Z. I had no complaints with either of them. And well, Luca, yeah, so far so good?
It's good.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what you can expect with a set of nice coils. Even with the standard springs, you can't go wrong with them. I have Swifts on my Z. They're incredible. Like you can't go wrong with those coils. I gotta say, I am pretty happy for him. He's actually got some pretty nice suspension now on the car. Car looks like it's, driving really flat around turns, and it's I gotta say, a hell of a setup. After again spending a decent amount of money, you are going to get some awesome results. Now comes like the extra part where you have to fine tune it. So there isn't exactly a way that says, hey, set your coils up like this, set your sway bars like this to get a proper setup. Tires make a huge factor. Your suspension setup makes a big difference, and also your ride height. So if you dial all this stuff in to how you guys like it, you can make this perfect. So Luca's going for more track kind of a setup, but I mean, if you guys want stance, these are awesome coils too at the end of the day. These sway bars make a big difference, and here's Luca. He's coming right now. So guys, we're probably gonna update you in a couple days and let you guys know how this is. So this is day one, first initial spin, first startup, first drive, all went smooth. We're gonna have to adjust the ride height, probably the dampening, and maybe some other fine tuning stuff. But as it stands, like with everything lined up how it was OEM, like all the adjustable arms, drove fine, right? There was no pull, there was no nothing.
Yep.
So
even the alignment was actually somewhat decent.
So 3 days later, we have the car back. Car got aligned, car drives nice. So this is literally 3 days later. We have the alignment spec here. We did not go with the factory spec, only because we wanted something a little bit more aggressive. Luca, what are your thoughts on them so far?
Coils ride really, really nice. Honestly, I think I noticed the sway bars more than the coils.
Yep, I believe that.
Just because the coils, they keep you really planted and flat, but they ride really comfy for coils. Like I have pretty stiff springs, 9K in the front and 10K in the rear. And they don't really feel all that different stiffness-wise or harshness than my lowering springs.
But that's because of dampening.
I know.
Yeah.
But the sway bars are huge. Like, there's no body roll whatsoever, and my dampening's full soft. I think I'm at like number 3 or something like that.
I have to say, the only time driving a car that has stiffer springs, the only time that's kind of uncomfortable is when you're driving slow. If you're driving the car hard, it's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Like even when you go over bumps or whatever, it responds really nicely to stiff springs. So we have the upgraded coil overs all around. We've got the adjustable control arms and the new sway bars front and back.
Yep.
3 days later, we've been driving it a little bit. beating on it a little bit. It's fun. We've got some pretty nice back roads behind our place. No, Mom, Dad, don't listen to this. We drove the car kind of hard, and we both experienced the same kind of thing. Right now, the weak point of the car isn't suspension anymore. There's no slop. It's very predictable. The problem is brakes. So you can drive the car, you can whip it around a turn, but as soon as you need to brake, these stock calipers, rotors, and pads are not quite cutting it. So we're going to be changing these things up soon. So they do the trick. There are 2 pistons up front, 1 piston in the rear. It's not really a track-oriented set. It's not a performance-oriented set. They work.
Yeah,
it'll stop the car. That's pretty much it.
I know that a lot of people have success just by changing out the pads on this car, but I think that there's better full systems out there that would give me a better, I guess, overall package.
Yeah.
So
this car is very similar to my old 240, size and power. When I had that car, I upgraded the front calipers along with pads and rotors because I wanted some better performance. We're gonna see the same kind of thing here, but better. So stay tuned for that. We've got some awesome stuff set up for the brakes on this thing. If you guys wanna find any of the parts that we used in the video or tools, you guys can find all that information in the description box down below, as always. If you have any further questions, you know what to do. Comment section's down there. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.